showing us the engagement ring and where they were staying,
seeing the sights and
the beautiful scenery. She was happy. It doesn't make any sense. It's under investigation, and we don't know what went on.
Fiance did not reach out to us at all. We found out from the hotel, and that's devastating when your daughter's halfway around the world. We have zero contact with the police department, no contact with anyone from the medical field, nothing like that. So, that's the message we want. Just transparency. We have no idea what happened. Like, we just don't know anything right now.
We're learning new details tonight about the death of an influencer with local ties who was found dead while on vacation in Africa. Ashley Robinson, who goes by Ashley Janae online, was on a birthday trip with her fiance at the time.
Well, tonight we're learning her fiance is still being questioned as Robinson's family desperately tries to find out what happened to her.
It is Tuesday night. Shari's off. Alicia Vitarelli is joining us, and the big story in Action News is the mysterious death of a South Jersey woman, now drawing international attention.
Now, tonight, we know new details from authorities about her death. She was on a vacation of a lifetime in Zanzibar, Tanzania, which is on the east coast of Africa.
She posted Chapter 31, and I'm exactly where I need to be. 4 days later, she was dead. And the man who put that ring on her finger? He's been silent ever since. Hey, welcome back to Vile Crimes. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and don't forget to click that bell icon so you never miss an episode. Because trust me, you do not want to miss what we're about to get into today. Now let's talk about Ashley Robinson. Most of you probably know her as Ashley Janae, the lifestyle and travel content creator who built a following of over 145,000 people on Instagram. She was 31 years old, full of life, freshly engaged, celebrating her birthday in one of the most beautiful places on earth, Zanzibar, Tanzania. And then she was gone. Authorities called it a suicide. Her family called it impossible. And right now, weeks later, there are still more questions than answers. So let's go back to the beginning. Ashley Robinson grew up in New Jersey, and she was the kind of person who lit up every room she walked into. Her parents, Harry Robinson and Yolanda Denise Endres, describe her as a beacon of light. Happy, energetic, the type of daughter who would FaceTime her parents from halfway across the world just to show them she was having the time of her life. And that is exactly what she was doing in early April 2026. She was on a birthday trip to Zanzibar with her longtime boyfriend, Joseph McCann. Joe, as he's known, is 45 years old, a Portland-based businessman, founder and managing partner of Asymmetric Technologies LLC, with a background in cryptocurrency and investment ventures. On the surface, they were a couple living their best life. She had the followers, he had the business portfolio, and together they were jetting off to East Africa to celebrate her turning 31. On April 3rd, during what appeared to be a magical safari excursion, Joe got down on one knee and proposed. Ashley said yes. She documented the whole thing. Rose petals, giraffes, sunsets. Her final Instagram post, dated April 5th, her actual birthday, showed her feeding a giraffe surrounded by those rose petals, spelling out HBD Ashley. The caption she wrote was simple but heavy when you read it now. Chapter 31, and I'm exactly where I need to be. 3 days later, she was found unconscious in her hotel villa at the Zuri Zanzibar resort. A belt around her neck, inside a closet. She was rushed to a local hospital, then transferred to another. On April 9th, 2026, Ashley Robinson was pronounced dead. And that right there is where this story stops being a birthday trip and starts being something much darker. Because from the moment that hotel worker found her, almost nothing about this case has added up. Stay with me because we're just getting started. So let's talk about what was actually happening inside that resort in the days leading up to Ashley's death, because this is where things start to get really uncomfortable. According to Tanzanian police, Ashley and Joe checked into the Zuri Zanzibar hotel on April 6th. And by all accounts, things were not as picture-perfect behind closed doors as they looked on Instagram. Police say the couple had been quarreling frequently throughout their stay. Not just a little disagreement here and there. Frequently. Enough that other guests noticed. Enough that hotel management felt the need to step in. On the night of April 8th, things escalated to the point where hotel staff physically separated them. They moved Joe McCann out of the villa he shared with Ashley and relocated him to a completely different villa, about an 8 to 10 minute walk away. Think about that for a second. You just got engaged 5 days ago. You are supposed to be celebrating the woman you just asked to spend the rest of your life with. And the hotel has to separate you because things got that bad. Now here is where I need you to really pay attention, because the timeline of what happened next is everything. After Joe was moved to his separate villa, a few hours passed. And then a hotel worker found Ashley Robinson unresponsive in her room, in a closet, with a belt around her neck. She was not found in her bed. She was not found collapsed on the floor. She was in a closet, and I want you to sit with that detail because it matters. She was rushed to a local hospital, then transferred to a second facility. It was at that second hospital that records obtained by a local Tanzanian outlet listed her immediate cause of death as cerebral hypoxia due to strangulation and suffocation. Now, before you process that, I want to be clear that those findings have not been officially confirmed or publicly released by Tanzanian authorities. But they are out there, and they are sitting very uncomfortably alongside the official narrative of suicide. Here is another thing that does not sit right with a lot of people, including her own family. Joe McCann called Ashley's mother, Yolanda, on April 9th. But he did not call her the moment Ashley was found. He called 11 hours later. And when he did call, he told Yolanda that Ashley had done something to herself and was in the hospital, and that she was stable. The news that Ashley had actually died, that came from the hotel, not from Joe. Think about that. Your fiancé has just died, and you leave it to a hotel to call her mother. Her parents told TMZ they found this very, very odd. And honestly, can you blame them? Because from that point on, Joe McCann went completely silent. No press statement, no public appearance, no reaching out to her grieving family. He made his social media profiles private and updated his profile picture. That is it. That is the sum total of his public response to the death of the woman he proposed to just days earlier. Now I am not here to convict anyone. That is not what we do on this channel. But I am going to ask the questions that need to be asked. Because Ashley's family deserves that much. Her father, Harry Robinson, did not sit at home waiting for answers. He flew to Washington, D.C. to personally press U.S. government officials to help him make contact with Tanzanian authorities. And that pressure worked, because officials were eventually able to establish contact, and the family was informed that the Tanzanian autopsy was completed on April 14th. But here is the frustrating part. They were told the investigation is ongoing. That is all. No results. No details. Just the investigation is ongoing. So the family did what any family fighting for the truth would do. They commissioned their own independent autopsy. And as of today, those results are also still pending. Meanwhile, Joe McCann's passport was confiscated by Tanzanian authorities. He has continued to be questioned by police. But here is the thing that keeps making headlines. Tanzanian officials told the BBC that McCann is being interviewed as a witness, not a suspect. No charges have been filed, and it is still unclear whether he has even left Tanzania or returned to the United States. What is also unclear is where Ashley's belongings are. When her body was finally returned to her family in New Jersey on April 25th, none of her personal effects came with it. Not her clothes, not her jewelry, and most significantly, not the engagement ring Joe placed on her finger just days before she died. Her father said he does not even know if or when those items will be returned, and he believes authorities are holding them as part of the active investigation. So let me ask you something, and I genuinely want you to think about this. If the person you loved had just died under suspicious circumstances, would silence be your response? Would going private on social media be your move? Because for a lot of people watching this, that behavior raises serious red flags. And for Ashley's family, every single day without answers is another day of unbearable pain. Her mother Yolanda said it best. She was never going to be discarded and forgotten about. And we are going to make sure of that. Stay with us, because up next we are getting into the investigation, the theories, and the questions that this case is leaving wide open. So here we are. Weeks have passed since Ashley Robinson was found in that closet in Zanzibar. And what do we actually have? We have 2 autopsy results that have not been released. We have a fiancé who has not said a single word publicly. We have an engagement ring that is missing. We have a family that is planning a funeral while simultaneously fighting for the truth from 2 different governments. And we have a case that officially remains open. Let me walk you through what the investigation actually looks like right now, because it is important to understand just how complicated this situation is geographically and legally. Zanzibar is a semi-autonomous region of Tanzania. That means the local police there operate somewhat independently from the mainland Tanzanian government. The family has had to navigate communication with Zanzibar police, the Tanzanian government, and the U.S. State Department all at the same time. Harry Robinson, Ashley's father, confirmed that the U.S. State Department is monitoring the case. And while that sounds reassuring, monitoring is very different from intervening. One of the biggest missing pieces in this investigation is the hotel surveillance footage. The Zuri Zanzibar is a luxury resort. These places have cameras, and Ashley's family has been pushing hard to obtain that footage, because if it exists and captures anything from the night of April 8th, it could tell a completely different story from the one currently being presented. As of today, the family has not been given access to it. The hotel itself released a brief statement saying they were deeply saddened by a tragic incident involving one of their guests, and that they were cooperating with local authorities and the U.S. That is all they have said. No confirmation of whether surveillance footage exists. No details about what staff witnessed that night. Nothing beyond one carefully worded sentence. Now let us talk about the theories, because this is where the community has been very vocal, and honestly I think it is worth having this conversation openly. Theory 1 is the official position. Tanzanian authorities ruled Ashley's death a suicide by hanging. They say the dispute with McCann that night was a misunderstanding, and that after being separated from him, Ashley took her own life. Her family has rejected this completely and without hesitation. Her parents told every outlet that would listen that Ashley showed absolutely no signs of wanting to harm herself. Her final Instagram post was joyful. Her final FaceTime calls with her family were excited. She was a woman stepping into a new chapter of her life, not closing one. Theory 2 is what a lot of people following this case cannot stop talking about. The unverified medical records listing her cause of death as cerebral hypoxia due to strangulation and suffocation point to something that does not align with a self-inflicted hanging in a closet. Strangulation and suffocation as a cause of death opens up a completely different set of possibilities. And when you combine that with the argument, the separation, the silence from her fiancé, and the missing belongings, a lot of people are arriving at a very dark conclusion on their own. Now I want to be responsible here. Joe McCann has not been charged with anything. Tanzanian authorities have publicly stated he is a witness, not a suspect. But the court of public opinion is watching every move he makes, or in this case, every move he is not making. Because silence in the face of tragedy is its own kind of statement. There is also the matter of who Joe McCann actually is beyond the surface level. Court records identify him as the founder and managing partner of Asymmetric Technologies LLC. His LinkedIn lists experience in cryptocurrency and investment ventures. He is 45 years old, 14 years older than Ashley. And while none of that makes him guilty of anything, it adds texture to the picture of who this man is and the dynamic of this relationship. What we do know is that the family is not giving up. They have a GoFundMe that has raised over $63,000 to cover funeral costs and travel expenses as they continue fighting for answers. They have commissioned an independent autopsy. They have lobbied the U.S. government directly. They flew to Washington, D.C. They are prepared to travel to Tanzania themselves to meet with officials face to face if that is what it takes. Ashley Robinson was a 31-year-old woman who spent years building a community online. She shared her travels, her joy, her relationship, her life. Her last post was a birthday celebration. Her last caption was optimism in its purest form. And now her family is sitting in New Jersey planning her funeral without her belongings, without autopsy results, and without a single word from the man who asked her to marry him. That is the reality of this case as it stands today. So I want to leave you with some questions. Not rhetorical ones. Real questions I want you to sit with and think about honestly. Why has Joe McCann not made a single public statement? What does a person who has nothing to hide gain from staying completely silent when the woman they loved has died under suspicious circumstances? And if the surveillance footage from that resort exists, Why has it not been made available to the family or the public? What does it show, or more importantly, what does someone not want it to show? And here is the one that keeps me up at night. Ashley wrote Chapter 31, and I'm exactly where I need to be. Was she really? Or was she in a situation that was far more dangerous than anyone around her understood? If you know anything about this case, if you have seen anything, heard anything, or have any information that could help this family get justice, please reach out to the relevant authorities. Ashley's family is still fighting. The least we can do is make sure her story keeps getting told. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe the suicide ruling? Do you think there is more to Joe McCann's silence than meets the eye? And what do you think that surveillance footage would reveal? Like this video if this case deserves more attention. Subscribe to Vile Crimes so you never miss an update. And share this episode everywhere, because sometimes the truth only comes out when enough people are paying attention. Rest in peace, Ashley Robinson. Chapter 31 deserved so much better.